Over the past 3 episodes, I was beginning to get the feeling that we were drifting too far afield of the original intent of this podcast. That is, writing and performing songs. However, each of our subjects are songwriters. Mark Baxter, our vocal behaviorist, has been writing songs all along since he started in rock bands in the last century. Yaron Gershovsky, band leader of Manhattan Transfer, is constantly writing and publishing new original songs. And Debra Monk, our star of stage and screen, early in her career collaborated on songs for the Tony-nominated Boys and Dinettes and other musicals. So, the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I hadn't wandered too far from my original purpose. All of these people are legitimate songwriters. This is often what the life of the songwriter is like. Precious few can live off their songwriting talent alone. Now, I'm not a rich person. Oh, I do okay, but I don't really lack for anything. But I don't have a lot of disposable income. So I've decided to sort of pay back these 3 with the only currency I have. I've written 3 new songs. Each one of the 3 subjects inspired a different song. Today we'll hear those songs and follow the process of their creation. Hi, I'm Tim Rose. Welcome to the 50th episode of the Tim Tunes podcast. Begun on a whim almost 3 years ago, I started with the stories and recollections of my best songs. I thought I'd be done once I made it through the first batch, but episode after episode, I managed to find some songwriting or performance-based content to share with you listeners. In this episode, we'll explore 3 recently written songs that were inspired by the subjects of this season's podcasts. If you haven't listened to episodes 5.1 through 5.5, I suggest you go back and give them a listen to better appreciate these songs. But enough of my yakking. Let's get going on to episode 50. I came up with the idea of writing songs as a way of thanking my podcast subjects while I was halfway through the Debra Monk interview, episode 5.4. I realized that I wanted to do more than just give a verbal thanks to these folks. So, I decided to write songs, inspired by my conversations with each of them. For each subject, I did extensive research into their music. I listened to as many of their songs as I could find. Then, I dissected the style, the tempo, the chords, the melody, and the rhythms of some of each person's songs. Now, none of the people that I interviewed had a single style of music that they have written or performed. So, the styles that I selected for them are more a reflection of my impression of them and just what came out when I thought about them and my interviews with them. Then I built what I thought was a representative song that captured something from each episode that I latched onto. For Mark, I wrote a rock anthem. For Yaron, I wrote a Latin-inspired jazz piece featuring piano. For Deb, I wrote a show song. Just a warning, I wrote and recorded all of these songs by myself in about 3 weeks. Usually it takes months to finalize a recording for me. I'll make a scratch version, which I'll listen to over and over until I find the things that I want to change. I didn't do that with these songs, so maybe think of them as being in that sort of pre-final stage. I first met Mark Baxter in the 90s when I was having sessions with him to improve my voice after a long absence from performing and vocal surgery. At the time, Mark was performing with a rock band. So Mark is kind of stuck in my mind as a lead singer in a rock band. That made the choice of a rock anthem as the style for this piece very easy for me. During my conversations with Mark, we kept coming back to how his mission was to enable people to open themselves up. In a your voice is you sort of way, Mark equated the connection between the heart and the voice as a channel to share the performer's love with their audience. I found this very compelling and decided to make it the subject of my rock anthem. So, how do you make a rock anthem? Well, I started with a guitar riff at the beginning of the song and chose the key of E. Now, any rock guitarist will tell you that E is the master key of rock. If you're a rock guitarist and you randomly pick up a guitar, the first chord you're likely to play is an E. Just saying. So this is how that goes. Now, this riff suggested a tempo, a very arena rock tempo of around 100 beats per minute. I took the drum track and selected what I call a Zeppelin drum set. I proceeded to use a plate reverb effect, which is very indicative of the Led Zeppelin drum sound. Next, I selected a bass sound that I found reminiscent of John Entwistle of The Who, specifically from their Live at Leeds album. It has a distortion not usually found outside of rock and metal and all their subgenres. Then I had a devil of a time finding the right organ sound and the right modulation. Finally, I remembered that my keyboard had a killer organ sound and the best organ modulation that I could find. Next, I put together the lead guitar parts. I made up a counterpoint to the rhythm for the intro. And then came up with a really cool line for the second half of the verse. Finally, I cooked up a lead break using a modification of the melody. Lastly, I made and then remade the vocals. Now, singing vocals for Mark Baxter is a little like saying a prayer in front of the Pope. No matter what I do, it will not be good enough in my own eyes. At any rate, here's a sample from the song. But if you can share your heart, then everyone will listen. The voice you are, the you of you, that's your only mission. So, here is the finished product. Open your heart, submitted for your approval. first to our last word. We all want to be heard, but when we sing our song, something seems to be missing. But if you can share your heart, then everyone will listen. The voice you are, the you of you, that's your only mission. When I interviewed Yaron Gershovsky, I was struck by how frequently he would pop up and go over to the piano to illustrate a point, or to give an example, or to express an idea. So when I started to write a song inspired by Yaron, the phrase music, music, music got stuck in my head. I've always heard music in my head. It comes unbidden at all hours of the night and day. I can't stop it. Not that I would want to. My poor wife has to endure the constant tapping of drum parts and quiet humming or whistling of the phrases that are always in my mind. I have no idea where the phrase music, music, music came from, except that it popped into my head whenever I thought about writing a Yaron-inspired song. I knew I wanted to make it a jazz song, and I wanted a Latin beat underneath. However, I started by composing the song on guitar and then transposing the guitar part to the piano. This took a little time. The music is what I call pure Bittner. For those of you who've been listening for a while will recognize the name of my old jazz guitar teacher. For more info, you can listen to episode Reverb number 1, Ted Onulak. Now, I can tickle the tusks a little, but I wouldn't call myself a pianist by any stretch. So I had to write out the entire song in my composition tool. I wanted it to be simple, piano, bass, and Latin percussion. I wanted to avoid too much density in the piano part. By that I mean, when non-pianists write for the piano, there's a tendency to put too many notes in the music. This is one of those situations where you do something because you can do it, as opposed to what you should do. The result is kind of a mashed up, muddled, dense sound that sounds artificial. It has no air. It doesn't breathe. So, as I was writing the piano part, I tried to imagine that I was playing the piano. How far could I stretch my hand to make a chord? What was the left hand doing? Could I realistically play a 4-note ascending 16th note chords with my right hand? Would I want to? Now, my piano part does have a kind of a guitar feel to it, especially under the vocal accompaniment. And the volume under the vocal is lower than it is in the piano solo sections to help highlight the vocal. As a general rule, I don't like it when lines step on each other. By this, I mean I don't like it when one part distracts from another by playing at the same time. This is something I learned in theater. When one actor speaks, the other actors remain silent unless the playwright specifically directs them to speak at that time. If you do talk over another actor's line, it's called stepping on their line, so I tried to avoid that. I put together my best piano sound, a realistic electric jazz bass sound, and then I went out and found some very nice Latin percussion rhythms. I had to tweak the rhythms to emphasize certain beats in the song, but the final result is not unpleasant to my ear. And though it came out a little shorter than I anticipated, it took me longer to create. Now, here is music, music, music. Music, 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 I hear music all the time. While you're talking to me, I hear 4/4 in my mind. It's not that I'm distracted, it's just the way I'm made. So take a seat and listen while I play. Yes, Yes, I hear music most everywhere. I couldn't stop myself if I tried. Music, 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 there is music all around. I hear the wind, the lights and sound, I feel it in the ground. So when I seem distracted, I'm not trying to ignore. I simply have to listen to the world. Even though it's short, I love the energy of that song. When I thought back to my conversation with Debra Monk, I was struck by how she worked so hard to become a professional actor. From the struggles of getting an education, to joining Equity, the Stage Actors Union, to co-writing and performing her first Broadway show, to finally getting an agent, and even today, to auditioning for a part that she wanted but was not offered. Deb's persistence and work ethic is a lesson for all of us who want to be actors. Her professional approach leaves little room for slackers. I was especially impressed by her advice for auditioning. So, I decided to write a little song about auditions and include the advice from our conversations. And what other style could I use for her than Broadway musical ballad style? I wrote a simple ballad with piano, bass, drums, and a little banjo. See Kander and Ebb influence. I've given it my best Broadway vocal imitation, and though I don't include any modulations or belting sections, I have emphasized the vocal. Herewith is my Debra Monk inspired song, No Shortcut. Some folks are overnight sensations, but they tend to disappear as fashions change. It's the journey that's the thing, not the destination. And there's no shortcut to your dream. There's just the work, so buckle down. Learn your craft and don't be daft, you crazy clown. There's just the work, don't be a jerk. Come prepared and keep on trying, and trying, and trying, and in the end you still might be around. Learn your lines, be off book. Get to know the show before you get a look. Be on time, dress for the part. It may not be your turn, but it's a start, so get to work and buckle down. Learn your craft, don't be daft, you crazy clown. There's just the work, don't be a jerk. Come prepared and keep on trying, and trying, and trying, and in the end you still might be around. Know the show, read the script. Come prepared with an idea, and don't give lip, say thanks a lot, then say adieu. Don't overstay your welcome, 'cause they'll call you, so get to work and buckle down. Learn your craft, don't be daft, you crazy clown. Just do the work, don't be a jerk. Come prepared and keep on trying, and trying and trying and trying, I'm not lying, and in the end you might still be around. And those who were overnight sensations have all but vaporized into the wind, unless somehow they got some education. 'Cause there's no shortcut to your dream. No, there's no shortcut. Think of it as a warm-up. There's no shortcut to your dream. Alas, we come to the end of our 50th episode. I hope you've enjoyed our conversation-inspired songs. Join us again in a few weeks when we feature our conversation with renowned singer, songwriter, cartoonist Todd Pronto. I've included a little sample after the outro if you'd like to hear more. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider making a contribution to me on PayPal at Rimtoes. That's RIMTOES. Any amount is appreciated. If you'd like to be a regular contributor, I invite you to look me up on patreon.com and become a patron of the show. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you and yours are happy and healthy. Until next time, all my love. And now, as promised, here's a little bit of Todd Pronto's song that we'll probably hear again next week. Hope you enjoy it.
I might win, I might lose. Sometimes life is cruel, but I can always sing the blues. Just me and my guitar. Love may come, love may go. Sometimes I take love slow. You'll never be alone. Just me and my guitar. Me and my guitar. We might not get too far. We'll always be together through thick and thin. So if a crowd gathers around, or if times get hard, the music rings forever. We'll always be together, best friends forever. Me and my guitar. Lazy days and crazy nights, it can't all be wrong. So come and y'all sing along to me and my guitar. Yeah, me and my guitar. We might not get too far, but we'll always be together through thick and thin. So if a crowd gathers around, or if times get hard, the music rings forever. We'll always be together, best friends forever. Just me and my guitar. Hey, yep. slow.